Golden State Media Concepts Baseball Podcast. We cover everything Major League, from spring training to the World Series. We've got your favorite club covered, from New York to Boston to LA. This is the Golden State Media Concepts Baseball Podcast.
What is up? Welcome into the GSMC Baseball Podcast. It is a Wednesday as we are getting halfway through our week here. And of course, this podcast is brought to you by the GSMC Podcast Network. Lots to get to in the baseball world. We're going to recap the games from Monday and Tuesday. Monday was a short slot of games. If you listened to the show on Monday morning that I did, I kind of went over the different pitching matchups that we're going to have coming up. We had coming up the last 2 days, and I'll be recapping those games now. And then we'll probably go over, in the second segment, we're going to go over the Yankees and also a couple different stories out in the West. Out West in the American League and the National League, as both those divisions are looking like they're going to be pretty hotly contested, especially up in for top four teams. We'll see how it shakes out throughout the rest of the season, but both divisions are having some pretty interesting races. There are a couple front runners, and especially in the National League side. But in the American League, all those teams are kind of bunched up at the top. The fourth place team is only 3 games back of the first place team, and then the same thing, kind of thing in the West, except Arizona may be pulled away a little bit, but everybody else is kind of jumbled up there in the middle. All right. And, of course, the Yankees, they're finally hitting their stride. Didi Gregorius is hitting some bombs. I think he's got probably 8 home runs already now in the season. Didi cannot be stopped. And then you obviously have Stanton, who hit an absolute bomb a couple days ago. So we'll go over all that stuff in the second segment and probably the third segment as well, with the Western Division races and storylines coming out of both leagues. And what have you. We'll find out what we want to do on the fourth segment as we go along. But in this first segment, we're going to recap these games from Monday and Tuesday, starting off on Monday. A short slate of games. We'll start, speaking out West, we'll start out West. We'll start in San Francisco. The Giants coming home to host the Nationals. It was Chris Stratton versus Gio Gonzalez. This is the game actually I was able to go to on Monday night. And the Giants were able to take this one 4-2. Mac Williamson hit another home run, his second home run since being called up from AAA for the Giants, and it was a absolute bomb. 460-foot home run to the opposite field. I don't know if anybody is familiar with AT&T Park out there in San Francisco. It's 421 to right center field in Triples Alley, and there's a section of seats up above that marker above that wall, and he hit it about 10 rows into that section. So it was a bomb, and that was the opposite field, an absolute missile line drive home run from Williamson to give the Giants a lead they would never relinquish throughout that game. Continuing on in Cincinnati, it was a win for the Reds. They actually get, I think that's only probably their fourth win of the season, as they actually already fired their manager. Brian Price has been relieved of his duties as they're going with a interim manager, and it's going to be the Reds to get the win, though. Got a home run from Scott Schibler that ended their home run drought, got the win over the Atlanta Braves by a score of 10-4. The Yankees, like I said, they're rolling. They got a great start from Masahiro Tanaka, who continues to be pretty up and down this season. I'm going to give you his line on this game. He went 6 2/3 innings, allowed only 1 run on 3 hits, 2 walks, 5 strikeouts. But the Yankees bats were the story in this game. They scored 14 runs, got 4 home runs as Andujar, Stanton, Gregorius, and Austin all went deep in this game at Yankee Stadium, racking up 14 runs on the Twins. Jake Odorizzi did not last very long, only went 4 2/3 innings, allowed 5 runs on 5 hits, walked 3, struck out 5 to give up those 2 home runs. 2 of the home runs by the Yankees in the beginning of that game. On the other flip side, a pitcher's duel happened out in Baltimore on Monday. Carlos Carrasco against Jake Gausman, who was a nice start for Kevin Gausman out there in Baltimore, as the Cleveland Indians, though, were able to get the run, that extra run to give. It was actually, both runs were scored early in the game. It was 2-1 after the second inning, and that was about it. Yonder Alonso hit a homer and gave him the lead, and that was about it. That was all Carlos Carrasco needed, as the Indians took that one out there in Camden Yards. Carrasco went 7 1/3 innings, allowed 1 run on 6 hits, struck out 7, and he walked 2. Kevin Gausman went 8 innings, allowed 2 runs on 4 hits, 1 walk, 7 strikeouts. Gave up that home run to Alonso, the 2-run homer, and that was about it. That's all the scoring for the Indians. That's all they needed, as it proved enough. Out in Texas, the Oakland A's continue to win. They'll be part of my Wild Wild West segment. The A's are actually impressing us. They're taking 2 out of 3 from the Red Sox over the weekend. They went into Texas and got another win against the Rangers behind a nice pitching performance from Trevor Cahill, who went 5, allowed 3 runs on 4 hits, 2 walked, 6 strikeouts, to give up a home run to Robinson Chirinos. But it was not enough for the Rangers to get past the A's, as the A's powered a home run as well. Marcus Semien hit one in the 9th inning, but it was the kind of the 2-hit show. Semien had 2 hits. Judd Lowry continues to hit well. He's hitting like 357. He's leading. He's a top leaderboards in a lot of different categories in the American League. Out in the American League, there's all those different hitting categories, whether it's RBIs, average, slugging, all the kind of things. Judd Lowry's doing it all for the A's. He's hitting that 3 spot there. He's a good little player. And then Olsen, Mark Canha, and then also Pinder all had 2 hits. In this game, the A's did combine for 14 hits on the game. So got a nice little performance from the A's there, as they got another win. The Angels went into Houston and shut out the vaunted Houston Astros in their lineup. It was a nice pitching performance from Tyler Skaggs. Went 7 innings, allowed no runs on 4 hits, walked 1, struck out 3, as he was pitching to contact. And the Angels were able to get out of there with a win. 2-0 was the score. Big run scoring play was, there was just a single by Cole Calhoun and a double by Justin Upton, and that was all they needed in the 5th and 6th innings. And it was a tough luck loss, as Garrett Cole also pitched pretty well and allowed 2 runs on 4 hits, struck out 8, walked 2, but he took the loss, as he was did not get much run support, outdueled by Tyler Skaggs. So that was the game out there in Houston. We're going to go over to the south side of Chicago. The White Sox got a win, a rare win for the White Sox over the Seattle Mariners. They did get that one in blowout fashion. 10-4 was the final for the White Sox, as Jose Abreu hit 2 home runs, and then Juan Moncada also hit a home run. Chris Leak did not look very good for the Mariners, only going 3 1/3 innings, allowing 8 runs on 12 hits, only struck out 1, and he gave up 2 home runs. Not a very promising performance for Leak. And then Fulmer pitched pretty well, actually. Only allowed 2 runs on 3 hits, 1 walk, 3 strikeouts, to give up a home run. That was in 6 innings of work. Zunino hit a home run off of Fulmer, but it didn't really matter, as the White Sox were able to take that one by a final score of 10-4. A bunch of double-digit runs in this game. Even on a short slot, a small slate of games on Monday, we had 4 games where teams got into double digits, and here comes another one. The Padres beating up on the Rockies in Denver. The Padres bats coming alive, as they actually hit 2 home runs. Frenchie Cordero and Carlos Asuaje both went deep for the Padres, and they got the win 13-5, as Chad Bettis, who had done pretty well in the season, didn't get hit with the loss, as he went 5 innings, allowed 4 runs on 5 hits, struck out 5, walked 2, did give up the home run to Asuaje, but the Rockies bats bailed him out. But it was the Rockies bullpen that kind of blew this one, as McGee and Oberg both did not pitch well out of the bullpen, giving up a combined 9 runs, and that set up the loss for the Padres. Mitchell did not pitch as well, but he was kind of hit with that no decision, as well, as the bats came and bailed him out. He did give up 5 runs on 8 hits, walked 2, struck out 2, to give up 2 home runs. Both Arenado and Story hit absolute missiles out of the ballpark in Colorado out there at Coors Field. But the Padres get the win there. All right, next game, Dodgers-Marlins. Low-scoring affair here in L.A. at Dodger Stadium. It was Yarlin Garcia who actually pitching pretty well for the Marlins. The young, I think, right-hander, is he? He's right-handed, right? No, left-hander. That's right. Yarlin Garcia's a lefty, crafty lefty there. And that's why I was questioning it. I kind of figured he was either one. It was six innings, allowed 1 run on 4 hits, walked 1, did strike out 7, allowed a home run in his 6 innings of work. Kike Hernandez took him deep, and that may have been enough to beat him. But actually, it was the tie of the game. Garcia did not take the loss. He got a no decision as Kevin Bearclaw did give up a run late in that game, and the Dodgers were able to win that one. They had a young starter going for the Dodgers. It was called up from the ranks in AAA. Walker Buehler came in. The right-hander pitched pretty well. Had no runs on 4 hits, 3 strikeouts, 5 strikeouts, 3 walks. Did get in 5 innings of work, and then the bullpen held strong, even though Chargois did give up a run late. And it's considered. I mean, it's weird how you see all these stats. You get so in baseball, if you're a reliever and you get through an inning, you're given a hold. If you hold a lead, basically, But if you give the run, you blow the lead. It's a blown save no matter what. I mean, Chargois pitched in looks like he pitched in the 8th inning, got 1 out in the 8th, and it considered a blown save. Okay, that was Monday, and then we'll quickly get through Tuesday. I'll just pick out a handful of games, as we did have a full slate on Tuesday. We'll get through all of them. Let's leak over to the next segment. We got plenty of time here on a Wednesday. Starting back in San Francisco, Giants got another win, another couple home runs. Brandon Belt hit his 6th home run of the year, as he is absolutely on fire right now. And Mac Williamson hit another one. He's played 5 games for the Giants, and he's hit 3 home runs. And they have really gotten. They've won 3 in a row now, and I think they've won 4 of the last 5 with Williamson in the lineup. So, gotta like that if you're a Giants fan. As they get past the Nationals again, 4-3 was the final out there in San Francisco. Good start for Ty Block. Also, both starts. Roark pitched pretty well. He did get hit with a loss as he went 6 innings, allowed 4 runs, 6 hits, 2 walks, 4 strikeouts to give up the 2 home runs. Both Belt and Williamson took him deep. Ty Block went 5, allowed 3 runs on 4 hits, 2 walks, 3 strikeouts to give it the home run. All 3 runs scored on a homer by Michael A. Taylor. A little different kind of game in Chicago as the one on Monday. It was a 1-0 win for the Mariners as they got a nice start from Marco Gonzalez. No runs on 5 hits, 1 walk, 8 strikeouts in 6 innings of work. Good, very nice start from Marco Gonzalez as they get the win 1-0 in that game. And then the Cubs and the Indians started a series in Cleveland. Tyler Chatwood pitching pretty well for the Cubs as he comes over. This is the guy they got from the Rockies coming over to kind of solidify that rotation. Cubs needing some rotation help after losing. Now if you're seeing Jake Arrieta pitch as well as he is for the Phillies, you got to be if you're a Cubs fan, you got to be scratching your head like, why didn't we just bring this guy back? I know he wanted a lot of money, but he's kind of having a little renaissance here as he is pitching pretty well for Philadelphia. The Cubs, it was Chatwin did get the win, his first win of the year for the Cubs. Going, where was his line? There's his line. 6 innings, 1 run on 4 hits, did walk 5, struck out 5 in 6 innings of work. Got to rack up those pitching, those pitch counts. So he only lasted about 6 innings, but the bullpen held strong, and the bats came alive throughout that game as the Cubs put up 10 runs. Schwarber, Contreras, and Ian Happ all went deep in that game for Chicago. All right, Yankees get another win as they beat the Twins 8-3. In this one, another nice game as they rack up some runs and hit more home runs as Yankees continue to make that stadium look small. Gary Sanchez hit 2, Didi Gregorius hit his 8th, and Judge hit his 7th in that game as the Yankees beat up on the Twins 8-3. A pretty good start for CC Sabathia coming back from the injury as he went 6 innings, allowed 1 run unearned on 2 hits, 1 walk, 4 strikeouts in 6 innings. Very nice for CC. Over to Cincinnati, as the Reds actually got another win. In 12 innings, they got a walk-off win for the Cincinnati Reds over the Braves. It was Scooter Gennett who hit a walk-off homer in the bottom of the 12th inning, a 2-run shot with it to game tied 7-7, and that got Cincinnati another win, as they now have that was their 5th win of the year. That was their 4th win on Monday. They got their 5th win on Tuesday yesterday. D-backs and Philly start a series in Philadelphia. D-backs got the win on the road there, 8-4. Red Sox and Blue Jays. No, the Red Sox are kind of struggling. They lost 3 in a row now after dropping 2 in a row to the A's. Out in Oakland, they go to Toronto and lose in another walk-off homer, another walk-off fashion, as Curtis Granderson hit an absolute bomb off of Craig Kimbrell to win that game for the Blue Jays 4-3. A's get another win in Texas. They win this one 3-2 behind a nice pitching performance from Triggs. It was a 6-inning performance, 1 run on 4 hits, 1 walk, 6 strikeouts for Triggs, as he improves to 2-0. Andrew Triggs pitching pretty well for the A's. Tough luck loss for Cole Hamels, as he actually pitched pretty well for himself. Over in Houston, the Angels get another win as the battle for Texas. Well, that wasn't a battle for Texas, but again, Wild West. We have 2 series going on in the AL Western Division. Both going on in Texas. Houston dropping this one to the Angels 8-7, as the Angels came back and win this one. Mike Trout hit his 10th home run of the year, so he continues to lead the league in that category. And the Angels were able to hold him off, as the Astros did come back and score a run late in that 7th inning, or the 8th inning, I believe. But the Angels were able to hold him off and get that win. Yeah, the Angels scored 4 in the 7th. Houston came back, scored 2 in the 7th, but that was not enough for the Astros to take the lead back, and they dropped that one 8-7. Out in Kansas City, as we continue to roll on. Actually, we're going to take a quick... I'm running out of time here. We're going to take a quick break, and we'll come back for the next segment, and I'll finish off these games, and then we'll get into my rants and opinions about the Wild Wild West, because there's a lot going on in baseball. We'll be right back.
This is your ultimate stop for everything sports. The Golden State Media Concepts Sports Podcast. Should I say more? From the NFL, MLB, the NBA to MMA, it's all in here. The Golden State Media Concepts Sports Podcast. Listen now.
All right, welcome back. It's going to be the second segment now, as we're going to just finish off these games that we were talking about in the last segment. A couple more to go. We did have actually 2 games postponed out in Pittsburgh and then in Baltimore. Some inclement weather again, whereas we continue to extend this number of games that are postponed or rescheduled due to weather, I believe was a record. So we got to deal with that stuff. But, I mean, we got some more games to talk about. Brewers and Royals went at it as they start another interleague series in Kansas City. The Royals dropped this one as they sit at 5-16. Brewers pitching pretty well. I mean, playing pretty well as they go kind of the flip side. They're 15-9, improved to 15-9 now in the season. They won this one 5-2 out there in Kansas City behind a home run from Lorenzo Cain, and Travis Shaw also homered in that game as the good pitching performance. They also got a nice pitching performance from Zach Davies. He went 6 innings, allowed 2 runs on 4 hits, walked 3, struck out 2 to give up the home run to Salvador Perez. So you gotta like that if you're a Brewers fan. Kind of keeping pace, extending your lead out there in the Central Division. We'll probably get to the Central Division as well too. That's a pretty tight race. They talk about that, all these different teams. I mean, nobody's really dropped out. There was a report out yesterday. I think Fangraphs came out and said that there was about a third of the league had either had less than a 1% chance of making the playoffs, but the entire other third of the league is all pretty much bunched up. And there's really only probably maybe three or four front runners that are pretty much almost, I mean, I wouldn't say guaranteed to make the playoffs because it is a long season and teams go in slumps, but I mean, the Red Sox, Diamondbacks, I wouldn't throw the Yankees in there quite yet, but probably in the Astros and the Indians, probably all teams that could think that their chances of making the playoffs are pretty high up there already now as we get close to the end of April, the first month of the season. But, I mean, everybody else, other than those bottom third teams I can go over, pretty much all the teams that are in last place right now. I mean, like the Padres, Marlins, Reds, Kansas City, Texas, Baltimore, all these teams probably can think about just next season. But everybody else, I mean, even like the teams that are in fourth place, like now Pittsburgh is in fourth place in the Central, and they're 12-10. So they're 2 games back. Everybody's pretty packed up in the top, just like it is kind of in all over the place, especially in the AL West, where the A's are 2 games over 500, but they're in fourth place. They're 3 games back. That's because the Astros and the Angels are both 16 and around 16-8 or 16-9, depending on how many games they played, obviously. So, but the A's got to like the fact that Astros are getting beat down a little bit, evening out that division and getting those teams to kind of just beat up on each other while the A's continue to win out there in Texas. Okay, back to the scores. Mets win a game late in St. Louis. I mean, this used to be like one of the most heated series. Mets and Cardinals. Even back in the 80s when those teams were both good, and we had some playoff series where when the Mets were still in Shea Stadium early in this decade and early 2000s, both these teams were pretty good, especially like in 2006 when the Cardinals did get to the World Series. Mets were able to pull this one out in 10 innings out at Busch Stadium. It was a Jay Bruce home run. They had to review it and make sure he touched the base, but he did hit a homer in the 10th to give the win to the Mets. And I mean, there's the story out of New York right now is that they are having. Zach Wheeler is pretty much He's pitching well enough to stay into the rotation, but Matt Harvey needed to be moved, and he's now in the bullpen. And he actually pitched yesterday out of the bullpen, went 2 innings, allowed 2 hits, did give up a run, walked 1, but he struck out 2. So, I mean, kind of promising out of the bullpen for Harvey. Would probably like to get no runs in 2 innings, but the Cardinals did get 1 run off of him. That actually did. I think it did tie the game, as there was 4-2. Yeah, we go to the ending. Cardinals scored 2. Yeah, so it was to give the Cardinals the lead 5-3 or 5-4, and then the Mets did score a run in the 8th to tie it up, and then won it in the 10th. All right, little flip job in Kansas and Colorado was the Rockies. They were able to come back and get a win after dropping one on a Monday against the Padres. They blew out the Padres 8-0, shutting them out. And getting a very nice pitching performance from Kyle Freeland. Went 7 innings, allowed no runs, obviously, on 3 hits. Walked 2, struck out 8 as he quieted those Padre bats as they went out for, I mean, that's just baseball for you right there. He scored 13 runs in 1 game, hit 3 homers, and then you come back and get shut out. So it just depends who's pitching against you and how they're throwing the ball. Kyle Freeland pitching pretty well in that game and got his first win of the season, the lefty, for the Rockies. Padres were not able to pitch nearly as well as the Rockies. Got 2 home runs, or a bunch of home runs. Let's see. Where's all my home runs? Oh, Trevor Story hit a homer. They had 2 home runs yesterday, or Monday. Trevor Story hit a homer. His second game in a row. Story his homer. He hit his 6th. It was a grand slam, mind you. All right. Out in Los Angeles, the Dodgers were not able to hold on against the Marlins. They had a 2-0 lead going into the 8th, and the Marlins win that one in the 9th as they got a run in the 8th and a run in the 9th. And then the Dodgers were not able to match that in the bottom half of that inning as Brad Ziegler got the save for Miami. Dodgers lose as they drop to 11-11 on the season. Marlins got their 6th win on the year. And that was pretty much it regarding games that were played. There was 2 games, like I said, Rays and Orioles were postponed, and the Tigers and the Pirates were postponed. As we have actually, it looks like we have about 3 interleague series going on right now. Brewers, Royals going on right now. Cubs, Indians, and the Pirates and the Tigers all happening on. I mean, you got to have, now with the 15 teams in each league, you got to have at least one interleague series going on at all times. So right now we got 3 of them, so going on pretty cool. I mean, we have one and they're all in American League parks, it looks like. Yes, they're all in American League parks right now, so getting those DH work and scoring some runs for those National League teams. It's always interesting. Probably do a segment on eventually having these National League teams when they go into the American League park. I have to look at it. I know the Giants has played in Los Angeles and Anaheim against the Angels, and they had a mix and match their DH. I mean, there's American League teams, they kind of make the roster where they're going to pick out a DH that they know. I mean, you see Shohei Ohtani DHing for the Angels. You got even Albert Pujols who's DHing. And the National League teams, they don't really create the roster in order to make, okay, let's make sure we have a DH. They don't really do that. But, I mean, you got to figure it out if you are a American League or a National League team when you go into an American League park. You find a guy who's, because, I mean, it's different. When you're a National League player, you are used to kind of being in the field. You're always loose. You're not just sitting in the dugout waiting for your turn to hit. I mean, you only go up there 3 or 4 times in a game. When you're in the National League, you're going to go up there 3 or 4 times in a game, and you're going to be in the field no matter what. DHing is not the easiest thing in the world. You're going to be, okay, sitting around. So, oh, it's my turn? Okay, we're going to be sitting around. I'm just watching play defense. But, yeah, it's definitely something that National League teams have had issues with in the past where they can have some trouble. All right, so in the third segment, we're actually going to talk about the Wild Wild West, because in the rest of this segment, I'm going to go over the Yankees and the fact that they have turned around their season quite a bit. They have been pretty volatile during the season, but they've rolled off 4 in a row now, getting Didi Gregorius going as he just like he was in the beginning of the year, the very beginning of the year. I mean, the Yankees, this was a team that would score 11 runs and then score no runs, just like I was talking about. It happens to everybody. But they just went 2 games in a row, racking up some big numbers and hitting the ball, making out of the ballpark, making that Yankee Stadium look mighty small. I mean, it is. Honestly, every time I see a home run hit down the right field line, I'm like, is this a joke? Sometimes, I mean, some of them are good home runs. Like Didi, the one Didi hit yesterday was a shot. But I mean, some of these guys are hitting top spin line drives that are going 4 rows deep in that short porch in right field because the wall is so short. I mean, look all over the park and tell me if you see a wall that short, distance-wise, with that wall, with the shortness, height-wise of the wall. Nowhere. I mean, even at Fenway, it's 308 down the line in left field, but, I mean, you got a tall wall. I mean, on the other side, it's 308 on the other line, short wall, but and then it juts back to 360 very quickly. Yeah, pesky pole, but you don't really see people hit one around the pole very much. In Fenway, I mean, you see people hit one over the monster. In AT&T Park, it's 315 down the line, but you got a 24-foot wall. Same thing in Pittsburgh, same thing in Baltimore. I mean, same thing in Cincinnati, you got a tall wall. Same thing in Houston, you got a tall wall in left field. So even if it's a short porch, you got a tall wall. You kind of make a difference. Where Yankee Stadium, they're like, nope, we're going to have a short wall and a short porch, so we get lots of homers. I mean, some of these, if I was an opposing pitcher, or even if a Yankee pitcher, I'd be real careful. I'd be like, okay, we're pitching the ground balls all day long, because I might get a pop-up that's going to go over the fence if a strong gust of wind blows it. I mean, you never know what's going to happen. Or a guy hits a line drive just well enough, it's not going to stay in the yard. Versus in some parks, like at AT&T Park or in Oakland or something like that, you're going to see balls that are hit like that, and they'll hit off the wall or they'll get caught. I mean, I know there's a whole adage of like, oh, he got AT&T'd. I mean, being out here on the West Coast, you hear that a lot because the big gap out there in right center field is 421 to the fence out there, where you can hit an absolute bomb and a guy can run it down. Well, it's kind of ridiculous sometimes seeing a guy hit a pop-up and then going over the fence, or a guy hit. I mean, line drives are one thing. Line drives, a guy hit it well, but I mean, a line drive isn't really it gets over the wall like that. I mean, you see like, oh, sudden, it's just sailed right out of there. Not only is it a jet stream, but it's a short fence and a short wall. I mean, yes, it gets deeper out in the center field, but it doesn't get that much deeper. I mean, down the line, what is it down the line? 310 to right field at Yankee Stadium with a short fence. It's kind of ridiculous. It's kind of ridiculous. I mean, they got approval because that was how it was. They wanted to match the same dimensions as the previous Yankee Stadium. They didn't want to change their park, so they got kind of grandfathered in. They were able to keep the same dimensions as the previous Yankee Stadium, even though that was built during the dead ball era where you wanted to have a lot of home runs. But yeah, it's kind of ridiculous. You see Gary Sanchez yesterday. The guy's got a ton of power, but I mean, he hit one yesterday that was, I mean, he hit pretty good. It was pretty much a line drive though, and it just snuck right over the wall in right field. And like that would have been a double, basically a double in every other park. I mean, just line drive into the right center field gap that snuck over the wall in right. But I mean, Didi's hit a ball. Didi's homers have been pretty much bombs. He had a couple line drives, but that guy swings hard. I mean, if you're a Diamondbacks fan, you're like, what the heck did we do? Why is Didi playing for the Yankees? Well, you like Nick Ahmed better, I guess, over there in Arizona. But yeah, no, the Yankees continue to roll on. They're finally getting some good pitching. CC Sabathia coming off of the DL, pitching well, got his first one of the year yesterday, and they have rolled off now 4 in a row over there in the Bronx. And the Red Sox have dropped 3 in a row. But Toronto's still rolling in there. I mean, you look at these. I mean, I know way too early to look at the standings, but I still look at it just to see how teams have done. Yeah, the Red Sox have lost 3 in a row, but they still have won 7 of the last 10, and same with the Yankees, who have now won 7 of the last 10 with a 4-game winning streak. And then look at Tampa Bay, also won 4 games in a row as they get back into maybe a little bit of the conversation, but still about 5 games, 5 games under 500. So. Got to think about that if you're good trend if you're a Rays fan, but I mean even better trend if you're a Yankee fan with your 4-game winning streak getting you now 4 games over 500 as they were kind of sitting there at 9-9, 4 games or at 500, kind of couldn't figure out what they wanted to do. They were go back and forth. Now they've rolled off 4 in a row, even against a tough Blue Jays team who is sitting right there. I mean, even a tough Twins team that's actually supposed to be competing in the American League Central. Right now they're 8-10. They've lost 5 in a row. So I mean, the whole Central Division is kind of mired. That's the one. I mean, the Central Division isn't really a hot division right now. Cleveland's leading it, and they're 3 games over. I mean, if you were there's a bunch of teams throughout the league. If they were in the Central, they'd be in the first place too. So I mean, nobody's actually on a winning streak. The entire Central Division lost yesterday. They've all lost at least a game in a row. So we'll get to the Wild Wild West, though. That's what I really want to talk about in this episode. Next segment, we're going to go over both the Western divisions in the National League and the American League. When we come back, and we'll talk about how it's going to shake out and how we're going to keep seeing a bunch of competition as all these teams are actually playing well right now, and how it's going to shake out through the season and how it all's going to transpire. We'll talk about that when we get back.
Tired of searching the vast jungle of podcasts? Now listen close and hear this out. There's a podcast network that covers just about everything that you've been searching. Hey! The Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network is here. Nothing less than a podcast bliss with endless hours of podcast coverage. From news, sports, music, fashion, cooking, entertainment, fantasy, football, and so much more. So stop lurking around and go straight out to the Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network. Guaranteed to fill that podcast itch. Whatever it may be. Visit us at www.gsmcpodcast.com. Follow us on Facebook and Twitter, and download us on iTunes, SoundCloud, and Google Play.
All right, welcome back to the GSMC Baseball Podcast, segment number 3. Going to be going at you right now, as we're going to be talking the Wild Wild West. I can't believe I skipped over it because it was a high-scoring game. But Shohei Ohtani pitched yesterday for the Angels, and he didn't pitch great, but he didn't pitch terribly. Got hit with a no decision, as the team did pull out a victory late in the game against the Astros, but he faced the Astros offense, and 5 1/3 innings, 6 hits, 4 runs. One of those runs actually was his because he came out with a runner on base, and then the reliever gave up a home run to Brian McCann, and the Gurriel, who was on base was responsible for Ohtani, was responsible for him, so that run was charged to Shohei. But gave up 4 runs on 6 hits. No big knock on him. He walked 5 walks in 5 1/3 innings. That's something you gotta watch out for. That'll rack up your pitch count. That's why he got 98. He has 98 pitches in 5 1/3 innings. So that's why he came out of that game. But struck out 7. Dig up the home run to Fisher. It was a pretty impressive home run, if you don't say so myself, out to center field. But Shohei, when he's pumping, he hit 101 miles an hour on the radar gun multiple times yesterday. So gotta like that. But his ERA does balloon up to 4.43 on the season. But the Angels were able to get the win. Their bats came around. They scored 4 runs in the 7th inning after the Astros had scored 2 in each of the innings before that to take the lead, but the Angels came back, got that 4-run 7th, and never were able to hold on and win that one 8-7. So kind of went over that game already, but that's a big part of this segment is the fact that this is a Wild Wild West segment. We'll start in the American League, where it's a little more wilder than the National League, but you have to talk about these Angels and Astros. We'll see. This is going to be a thing going throughout the season. The Astros kind of rolled away with that, or ran away with that division last season. Nobody was really able to catch them as they have. You think about the Mariners. The Mariners always, they're going to load up. They're going to be good. They fade away at the end of the season. Right now, the Mariners are 2 games over 500, only 3 games back of the division leading Angels, as the Angels have actually been leading this division most of the season. The Astros, I think, leapfrogged them for a second, but the Angels have won the last 2 games in Houston. So that's always when you play these teams. You play them 19 times in your division throughout the season. You got to take advantage. You got to really take advantage of these series to be able to get something going in your standings. It'll help you out a lot. So when you're facing a team that's sitting on top of the division, you got to be able to beat them to get your position better, obviously, because those direct wins are going to help you in the long run. But Houston definitely looking to get back in the win column today, as we'll probably that's what we're going to do in the next segment. We're going to talk about the games coming up on Tuesday, or today and Thursday. Tuesday, that was yesterday. Today and Thursday, we'll go over those games in the next segment. But continuing on with the Wild Wild West, it's the Astros and the Angels. The Oakland A's looking pretty good as they continue on. They've won 8 of the last 10. They've won 4 in a row. The A's green and gold. Ever since they had that free game out there at Oakland Coliseum, they haven't looked back. Sweeping the White Sox, took in 2 out of 3 from the best team in the league. You get throw a no-hitter against the Red Sox over the weekend. Now you're in Texas playing against the cellar dwellers and the Rangers, and looking like they're going to beat up on them as well. So A's got to like how they're doing. They're having good starts from their young starters. Triggs pitched yesterday, pitched pretty well. Today they're going to go again, obviously, out in Texas on a Thursday. They have Kendall Graveman trying to right his ship, because he's not pitched well at all this season, as he's looking for his first win. We'll go over that in the next segment more in depth. But the A's getting long ball going. They have Jed Lowry hitting really well. He's leading the league in a lot of different categories. Go look at the American League in these categories. He's leading the league in hitting overall. Not just the American League, the entire league. He's hitting 363, leading the league in hitting. And we can even keep going when it comes to even RBIs. He's right there. He's second in RBIs with 24. Only Didi Gregorius has more at 27. And even runs scored. But yeah, I mean, RBIs and averages up there. He hasn't had the big power numbers yet with the home runs. That's Mike Trout. I mean, Lowry is up there. He's at 6th. He's 14th with 6 home runs, a tie for 14th down there, and that's all of Major League Baseball, not just the American League. So, I mean, I can go look at just the American League stats, and he jumps up to 8th. So, I mean, take out the guys from the National League. But yeah, no, you gotta like that if you're the A's. Obviously, you got Chris Davis still hitting bombs. Chris Davis, I think, has hit the most home runs in the last, if you count this season and the 2 seasons before that, he's hit the most home runs since. So I mean, that'd be since the beginning of 2016. He's hit the most home runs in the entire major leagues. Everybody. I mean, he hit back-to-back, I think, 40-plus home run seasons. We'll do that for you. We'll probably get bounced by Aaron Judge or eventually, but you know, like that if you're the A's. Pitch. I mean, it's combination of pitching and hitting. This team, they get the knock for kind of being that quote unquote, like, you know, quasi farm team for the big market teams where they're going to have these guys come up through their minor league systems, play really well for the A's for a couple of years, and get to a year where they're going to be out of their rookie contract and looking for a big deal. And the A's either have to trade them in their contract year, or they're going to get signed by a different team, and the A's don't get anything back. That's kind of how the A's have been working. I mean, you see them trade guys like Josh Donaldson to the Blue Jays, recouping picks for that. They traded Trevor Siemian. I mean, not Trevor Siemian. They had Marcus Siemian is on their team already. Wow, it was a football crossover there. No, but they traded the shortstop for. I mean, when they were actually trying to win the division, they actually traded for Jeff Samardzija, and they gave the shortstop over to the Cubs. Why am I not thinking of his name? I'll think of his name later. It's all right. No big deal. He's not playing that well for the Cubs anyways. I don't even think he starts anymore for the Cubs. Yeah, he's not playing. Oh, yeah, Addison Russell. There you go. I knew, yeah. Addison Russell playing for the Cubs now. He was an A's prospect. But it's the one example of the A's actually giving up prospects to try and get a bigger name back. And that was probably actually in the John Lester. That was before the John Lester trade, where they traded him back over to the Cubs, and then he signed with the Cubs. Weird. All right. Continuing on with the Wild Wild West, we might shift over to the American League. I mean, yeah, we're almost to the end of the segment. We got to talk about the National League a little bit here. Kind of went over the A's and the Mariners are kind of just prodding along there. I like Didi Gregorius now playing outfield. I mean, not Didi Gregorius. D. Gordon, Didi and D. Gordon, Gregorius, D. Gordon playing out in center field for the Mariners has been a nice little addition for them. And obviously they got the big boppers with Nelson Cruz and Robinson Cano. They also have some good young players like Tyler Motter, who's actually hitting pretty well for himself as they have to get going. I mean, this is going to be a tough division. If you're the Mariners, you finally have a kind of a roster that you want, and now you got the Angels hitting and pitching well. Mike Trout's on fire. Obviously, the Astros and the A's hot on your heels as well. All right, over in the National League, right now it's the Diamondbacks on top. They're 16-6, winners of 3 in a row. Rockies also playing decent. They're one game over 500, but the Dodgers have been the team that have been surprising everybody, as they're sitting at 11-11 right now after losing to the Marlins yesterday. Can't seem to get out of their own way. They got a big series coming up this weekend in San Francisco. They're going to actually play 4 games at AT&T Park, as they're going to make up one of the games that they had rained out earlier in the month on Saturday with a doubleheader. So they're going to play 1 on Friday, 2 on Saturday, and then Sunday. It'll finish up that series out at AT&T. Giants and Dodgers coming up this weekend, so that'll be a big series for both teams as they both look to get some jockey for some position in that National League West. As these guys have already played, they're going to now play 10 times in this first month of the season. Giants and Dodgers. Arizona just continues to roll on. They've won 3 in a row. They're pitching, they're hitting, they're doing pretty much everything right now. As even without Jake Lamb in that lineup, their big right-handed slugger from at third base. Actually, no, he hits left-handed slugger who plays third base for them. He's been injured, but they're getting production from pretty much everywhere. As after a slow start, Goldschmidt was able to get it going, and he's starting to hit well. And they're obviously getting some lovely. I mean, great pitching performances. They finally, that's the big. The Diamondbacks have always been able to hit. They've always been able to hit out there, especially at that park in Arizona. But now they're finally getting it figured out. Patrick Corbin's pitching really well. We got a guy, Zach Godley, who's got one of the most nasty, devastating curveballs that I've ever seen. And then Zach Greinke is also pitching decently well for him. He was supposed to be a big sign. I mean, he obviously, when they signed him, he was supposed to be the top of that rotation. I think he's like third right now in the rotation, or maybe second behind Corbin. So you gotta like that if you are a Diamondbacks fan. I mean, even yesterday they gave up a few runs in the third inning to the Phillies and were able to score late and take that win pretty easily out there in Philadelphia. I mean, they got home runs from even Alex Avila hitting a home run. Gerard Dyson, who's been a nice addition to the top of that lineup and kind of platooning out in the outfield. And David Peralta's always been a stalwart there. A.J. Pollock out in center field, and then even Descalso. Man, look at that. That's how they win games. I mean, they're playing in Philadelphia as a team against the Phillies, who are actually playing really well right now. A good, hot team in the Phillies, and they hit 3 home runs, and it's none of the big names. It's Avila, Gerard Dyson, and Descalso, honestly. Descalso actually has been hitting pretty well when he gets a chance to get in that lineup or even off the bench in a DH situation. So you got to like it if you're a Diamondbacks fan. And as they continue to roll on there and pitch decently well, was Robbie Ray yesterday, who went 4 2/3 innings, allowed 3 runs on 5 hits, struck out 11 and walked 3. So got to like that if you're a Diamondbacks fan, as they will finish up their series this week in Philadelphia. And we'll see where else are they going this week. Are they going to come back home, or are they staying on the road there in the East Coast? Yeah, they're going to finish up their series tomorrow in Philly, and then they're going to go to Washington for a weekend series against the Nationals. All right, so we got some big stuff going on in the American League West. Obviously, the Rockies, they're facing off against the Padres right now, so let's see if they can win that series today, as they had a couple back and forth. I mean, yesterday was a good game for the Rockies. The day before, not so much. So we'll see if they can get that going and win that series out in Denver. All right. We're going to come back next segment with the probable pitchers for today and tomorrow. We'll go over some matchups and highlight some of the big games coming up in the schedule on the MLB side of things. We'll go over both leagues, and we'll do that right when we come back.
Want to know the latest in soccer? Then listen to the Golden State Media Concepts Soccer Podcast. From MLS, the World Cup, and the Premier League, we've got you covered. The latest updates, the hottest matches, and news on the league's top players. It's the Golden State Media Concepts Soccer Podcast.
David Beckham scores the goal to take England all the way to the World Cup finals.
Listen now.
All right, welcome back to the GSMC Baseball Podcast, the last segment of today's show, as we'll be going over the scores or actually not scores, some pitching matchups, some probable pitching performances for today. I'm going to give you my picks maybe for some games, see who's my pick to click for today, and then we'll also talk about some of the probables for tomorrow, a Thursday. Again, remember, Mondays and Thursdays were a limited slate in the Major League Baseball world, so we're not going to have everybody be going, but today there is. Today we're going to have, I bet you, probably a couple of doubleheaders today too. Maybe those games that were rained out are going to get made up, so we'll go over that today. And I mean, right now, not today, but from what's going on today. And we'll start out in the West, Giants and Nationals, starting at 12:45 Pacific time. Scherzer and Samardzija, a very nice pitching performance going on there. Samardzija's second start of the year for the Giants, going against Max Scherzer, who's already racked up 4 wins for the Nationals. He's sitting at a 1.36 ERA. The Giants trying to knock that off as they want to extend their winning streak to 4, as they want to work on that sweep of the Nationals out there at home at AT&T Park. Justin Verlander going for the Astros today as they look to win that series, or actually not win, but avoid being swept by the Angels actually in that series at home as they dropped the first two on Monday and Tuesday, looking like they are a little vulnerable right now, but they got the stopper, Justin Verlander, going. He's 3-0 with a 1.1 ERA, and he's going to go against a young right-hander in Nick Tropiano, who is 1-1 with a 3.75 ERA. So a little bit of a mismatch there out in Anaheim as they'll get going just after 11 o'clock Pacific time. Another day, it's Wednesday getaway day, so a lot of day games today in the Major League Baseball. James Shields and Felix Hernandez are going to be going at it out in Chicago. It's the south side of Chicago. Mariners and White Sox, Padres and Rockies. Tyson Ross against Gray. Why can I never remember his first name? John Gray. Tyson Ross and John Gray out there in Denver. Jordan Zimmerman is going to be going for the Tigers against Chad Kuhl. Again, the Padres are up. Like I said, there's going to be a doubleheader as it's going to be Jameson Taillon in Game 2 going up against a left-hander for the Tigers, Matthew Boyd. Out in New York, it's going to be Lance Lynn against Sonny Gray. As Sonny Gray looks to right his ship out in over in the pinstripes, is starting his first full season for the Yankees. And like I was talking about the A's, kind of trading away their best players to the big teams, the big market teams, before they have to pay him. Sonny Gray definitely being one of those guys. Perfect example right there. But Lance Lynn also looking for his to get his ERA a little lowered. He's looking for his first win in a Twins uniform as they will go at it in the Bronx. Twins and Yankees. All right. Braves against the Reds. The Reds actually won Braves have won both. Reds have won both those games out there at home against the Braves as they were able to take the last one 7-9 after they blew. They were the blowout on Monday as the Reds are looking to sweep the Braves. It's going to be Homer Bailey going for the Reds. He's looking for his first win. He actually has pitched pretty well for. He's looking for his. Actually, that was the Wednesday. Why is it showing me a different one? It's gonna be Matt Whistler for the Braves against Brandon Finnegan for the Reds out there today in Cincinnati. Braves looking for a sweep. All right, next series. Moving on. Diamondbacks and Phillies. Zach Greinke against Jake Arrieta. What a pitching matchup that's going to be. This has been these two guys have been around for quite a while. They've been on the top of their game for quite a while. Even now in 2018, this is a very nice pitching performance or pitching matchup as we're looking for good performances from both these guys. That could be a pitcher's duel for sure out there in Citizens Bank Park in Philadelphia. Zach Greinke looking to lower his ERA a little bit, 4.13 right now, but he's 2-1 for the Diamondbacks. And then Jake Arrieta has pitched very well in his starts for the Philadelphia Phillies. He's 2-0 with a 2.04 ERA in his first few starts for the Phillies out there in Baltimore. The two teams under 500 out there in the East. It's going to be Alex Cobb going again. He's looking to really right the ship. His ERA has ballooned all the way up to 15. Over 15. Is looking for his first win against the Rays out there in the Camden Yards. Red Sox and Blue Jays continue their series in Toronto. It'll be Eduardo Rodriguez against Aaron Sanchez. Both guys with an ERA just in between 3 and 4. And Rodriguez he's 2-0 right now. Sanchez looking for his second win of the year. In Cleveland, another nice pitching matchup here on Wednesday. John Lester against Trevor Bauer. Trevor Bauer has pitched pretty well. He's got an ERA below 3, but he's looking for his second win of the year. He's sitting at 1-2 right now. Last year at 3.10 ERA, he's 2-0 as he looks to beat up on that Indians lineup. This is a rematch of that 2016 World Series where the Cubs were able to come back from down 3-1 against the Cleveland Indians. Out in L.A., the rubber match of this series, Dodgers and Marlins. Clayton Kershaw going for the Dodgers as he looks to get back in the win column. He's sitting at 1-3 right now. Took a loss last week against the Nationals where he gave up 2 runs in the first inning and was outdueled by Max Scherzer, who's also pitching today. We went over that start. But he's at a 2.45 ERA, and he's going to be going against the Marlins' Trevor Richards, looking for his first win of the season. All right, kind of previewed this one a little bit already, but out in Texas, in Arlington, it'll be Kendall Graven and Doug Fister. Graven looking to get his first win of the year and lower his ERA quite a bit. And then it looks like they're going to make one game, not a doubleheader, only one doubleheader today, as it'll be Royals and Brewers. Chassin and Jason Hamill, Ulysses Chassin and Jason Hamill both pitching pretty decently, but they'll be going today for the Brewers and the Royals. And then Mets and Cardinals is the nightcap, as we'll be having Steven Matz and Michael Wacha for the Cardinals. Matz, the lefty, looking to improve that ERA a little bit, as they're both sitting right above 4. And then, but Wacha's actually 3-1 right now in the season. He looks like his fourth win. Matt's looking for his second win, as he's sitting at 1-1. All right, quickly as we'll go through Thursday as well. There's Homer Bailey. I was just one day ahead. Homer Bailey going for the Reds against Newcomb for the Braves. That's Sean Newcomb for the Braves, as they will be going at it in the fourth game of that. It's a 4-game series out there at Great American Ballpark in Cincinnati. Braves and Reds. So Tigers and Pirates will be continuing their series. It'll be Kyle Fulmer against Ivan Nova. And on Thursday, Fulmer pitching, both with decent. Nova's just sitting at 2-1, looking for his third win. Fulmer looking for his second win. D-backs and Phillies continue their series out there in Philadelphia. It'll be another start from Matt Cook for the Diamondbacks, as he gets the ball tomorrow against Lively. It'll be for the Phillies. Ben Lively going. He's looking for his first win of the season in Philly. Twins and Yankees continuing their series. Gibson and Montgomery will be going at it in the Bronx, as it will be Kyle Gibson and Montgomery's been pitching pretty well for the Yankees. Young left-hander. He's 2-0 with a 3.8 ERA. Mets and Cardinals complete their series out in St. Louis. Syndergaard and Jose Martinez? Yeah, Carlos Martinez. I know. Carlos Martinez and Noah Syndergaard going, as both those guys have been pitching very well. Carlos Martinez with the ERA with a 1.4 ERA. Syndergaard just a little bit over 3, as he looks to get that down and look for his second win. Both looking for their third wins and the third one of the season. Mariners and Indians will be James Paxton against Clevenger. Clevenger coming off a great start in his last time. Mike Clevenger went complete game shutout last time, as he's 2-0 with a 1.75 ERA. James Paxton looking for his second win and looking to lower that ERA just a tad there. Rays and Orioles, it'll be Dylan Bundy against Chris Archer. Nice cool pitching matchup there on Thursday in Camden Yards, as they both look for their second win of the year. Dylan Bundy been pitching very well, but a couple tough luck losses on his season. Chris Archer not so much, as he's still sitting at a 6.59 ERA, looking to right that ship quite a bit. All right, out in Toronto, they finish off that series. Marco Estrada against Chris Sale for the Blue Jays. Estrada looking for his third win of the year. He's at 5.23 ERA. Got some nice run support, looks like there. He's got 2 wins with a ERA over 5, versus Chris Sale not so much. He's a 1-1 with a sub-2 ERA, and he's looking like he wants his second win quite badly there. Brewers and Cubs. Obviously, Sale was outdueled last time by Sean Manaea. Sean Manaea threw a no-hitter against his team, so Sale looking like he wants to get back on the win column clearly. Brewers and Cubs out in Wrigley. They get their series started, a weekend series over in the friendly confines. It'll be Chase Anderson and Kyle Hendricks tomorrow. For the Cubs, Hendricks looking for his second win and looking to get that ERA below 4, as he's sitting right now at 4.09. And Chase Anderson looking like he's pitching pretty well. 2-1 with a 3.25 ERA, as he'll continue to roll on there, but going against a tough Cubs lineup. And then finally, White Sox and Royals, it'll be Lucas Giolito against... he's going to be going for the White Sox against Jacob Junis for the Royals. Junis actually pitching pretty well in the season. He's 3-1 with a 2.03 ERA. Giolito not so much, as he's sitting at a 9 ERA, looking to get his first win of the year still. He's 0-3 as he looks to lower that ERA. All right. Those are your pitching matchups for the next 2 days. We'll be reviewing those games on Friday, And just like we did today of the Monday-Tuesday games, it was a good show today. Had fun doing it. It was a good little Wild Wild West show. Yankees also continue to roll on as you look at the little title line of this show episode here. But yeah, we'll see how those National League Western Division standings shake out as we continue on through the season. We get through a month of the season. About 40 games is when we're going to really take a big measuring stick and put it on all these teams. A quarter into the season, we'll see what's going on there. But right now, it's all pretty jumbled up, especially out in those Western Division races. A's over 500, but sitting in fourth place. And the Dodgers, we'll see if they can get that stuff figured out. They have a big series coming up this weekend in San Francisco. All right. So that'll wrap it up. We'll be back on Friday for another episode of the GSMC Baseball Podcast. Like I said, we'll be reviewing the games from today and Thursday. We'll be highlighting the weekend. We'll go over any big stories that transpire over these next 2 days, of course. Until then, everybody go out and watch some baseball. We'll see you on Friday.
You've been listening to the Golden State Media Concepts Baseball Podcast, part of the Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network. You can find this show and others like it at www.gsmcpodcast.com. Download our podcast on iTunes, Stitcher, SoundCloud, and Google Play. Just type in GSMC to find all the shows from the Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network, from movies to music, from sports to entertainment, and even weird news. You can also follow us on Twitter and on Facebook. Thank you, and we hope you have enjoyed today's program.